Welcome to this week's tarot tutorial where I break down the hidden messages and meanings of the tarot cards one card at a time in a simple bite-sized way. These videos are designed for you to actively learn and participate by creating a keepsake reference book by the end of the series. I'm Heather and thank you so much for visiting my channel. Whether you are new or you are a long-time subscriber, welcome to the pack. In today's video, we will be breaking down the symbolism and interpretation of the death card. If you find value in today's video, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It does help my channel grow and lets me know what kind of content you want to see more of. So now let's jump right into our learning all about the death card. Grab your card, grab your pen, and grab your glue stick, and let's glue the death card down into our books. If you are following along, and I'm using a black pen today. I figured black would be good for death. And I put the writing down there, but I'm actually going to put my card way up here, up at the top. Okay. Okay, so when we look at the death card, a couple things that we see. We see this knight, this rider dressed all in black armor, sitting on this white horse. He's got a red saddle. You see his banner that he's holding up is black. Okay, he's got the number 13 here. There's this white rose on the banner. And let's see what else. And then you see these people down here that are dying in front of him. There's different people. There's a king, there's a child, there's a maiden, there's a clergy down here. You also see a river here in the background. And the sun is beginning to rise here. And then there's also a bridge. Okay. And that's what we see when we're looking at the death card. Okay, so let's break this down. I'm just going to turn this so I can read it a little bit, or sorry, I can write a little bit more comfortably. Oh, one thing I also want to point out about the knight, if you look closely, you will see that like this is supposed to be the Grim Reaper, right? But it's a skeleton. It's a skeleton rider. Okay, so that is actually where I'm going to start, and I'm going to write it right here. So skeleton rider. Now make sure you're writing small because there is a lot of information with this card. So the skeleton rider represents the inevitability of change and transformation, and the skeleton is a reminder of the transient nature of life. Everything, including life itself, is constantly undergoing a process of death and rebirth, and the skeleton also represents the bare essentials, right? It's the bare bones, right? So stripping away the superficial to reveal the truth. So skeleton rider is inevitability of change slash transformation. Okay. Um, cycle of death, rebirth. And then also bare essentials. I'm going to write bare bones. Bare bones. Strip away everything to find truth. Okay. And then the next thing we're going to look at is this white horse. So I'm just going to write white horse. Okay, so the white horse symbolizes purity and spiritual journey. The horse is a force of movement, signifying the inevitable passage from one phase of life to another. That death is not an end, but a transition to a new state of being, and the horse carries the message of transformation. So I'm going to put purity and spiritual journey. Um, again, the horse is this message, right? A message of transformation. Okay, and passage of one phase of life to another. Okay. And now I'm going to focus on the rising sun that's in the background. So I'm going to put rising sun. It just made me think of the song House of the Rising Sun. Okay, so although the this card represents death, the rising sun in the background symbolizes rebirth and new beginnings. So it highlights that even after death, there is life again. The rising sun provides hope in the darkness that a new day will dawn and with fresh possibilities. So, rebirth, new beginnings, and hope in the darkness, and a new day with, you can write possibilities or opportunities. I'm going to put fresh opportunities, with fresh opportunities. I'm going to shorthand it. There we go. Okay. And now the next thing that we're going to be looking at is, so I know I talked about the skeleton rider, but we're going to talk about him in terms of being the figure of death. So, because the figure of death here, this isn't a figure of terror, but one of transformation and the end of one cycle to a new cycle. Clearing, it's about clearing the way for the beginning of another cycle. So I'm going to actually, no, I'm going to put it down here. Figure of death. Because sometimes you see the rider too. It's not so much a skeleton rider. In some cards, it is depicted as the Grim Reaper, like completely cloaked as a Grim Reaper. So I do want to kind of keep these a bit separate. So, um, so transformation. Okay. End of a cycle and clearing the way for a new beginning. Okay. And then the other thing I want to point out is this banner here. So we see a black banner with a white rose. And so the black banner itself signifies the end, while the white rose represents purity, promise, new beginnings, and it reinforces the message that death brings the promise of new beginnings and the transformative power of endings. So black banner with white rose. So banner again is the ending. Uh, so ending, and then white rose, purity, new beginnings. You can even say hope. And yeah, and just the transformative nature of endings. And now we're going to look at the armor. So the skeleton is wearing this black armor, and the armor has the meaning of invincibility. So just like armor is very tough and it protects, right? So it's this invincibility, inevitability of death, but also impartiality of death. So it's regardless of one's status, we all succumb to death, and it's impartial and unstoppable. So the armor represents impartiality and invincibility. Again, which means that you can't stop it. So I'm just going to put impartial, unstoppable. Okay. And then we have fallen figures here in the front. So the fallen figures, if you look at them very closely, you have a king here, you have a clergy, you have a maiden, and you have a child down here. Okay, so I'm just going to put figures. And you can label those out if you want in your book. I know I'm going to run out of room. Okay, so the figures, the fallen figures, the king, the child, the maiden, the clergy here. What this is signifying is that the fallen figures represent different stages in life. And it emphasizes that death and transformation are universal, that no one can escape the cycle of life and death, no matter what their status is in life. So, different stages in life, all succumb to death, um, no matter status in life. Okay. And then the next thing that we're going to look at is this river that's in the background. So I'm just going to write river. And the river represents the continuous flow of life, right? Life or water, rivers, they bring life. They bring, yeah, like life wouldn't grow, plants wouldn't grow. We need water. Most of our body's made up of water. So this represents life and the continuous flow of life, and that life will go on even after death. So the river, continuous flow of life, and life goes on after death. Life goes on after death. Okay, and then we're going to talk about the bridge that's in the background. So the bridge is that transition, right? It represents, we use bridges to get from point A to point B. So this is that passage, that transition and passage. It symbolizes transition from one state into another, and that death is a journey, it's not an end. So transition slash passage from one state to another, and death equals journey, not end, an end. Okay, there we go. So now we're going to look at some of the numerology and the astrology. So the numerology, as I said before, this is the number 13. I'm going to, where am I going to put this? I'm going to put it right down here underneath the word death. Well, and you know what? No, I'm going to write it right here, right beside. Oh, you can't see here. I'll lift it up. I'm going to write it down right in here. Okay. So I'm going to write numerology. And again, it's the number 13. So hashtag 13. And the number 13 is often associated with endings and transformation and regeneration. So it signifies the death of old ways and the birth of new possibilities. So I'm going to put endings, transformation, regeneration, and death of old ways and birth of new possibilities. Okay. And then the astrology, I'm going to squeeze it in right up here. Okay. So the astrology is death is associated with the sign Scorpio. So I'm going to just write Scorpio. And Scorpio represents transformation, regeneration. So Scorpio is death, rebirth, regeneration. and the shadow self as well. There's a lot of deep psychology with Scorpio going into the deep dark and exploring, all the recesses of the mind and all the places that no one else wants to go and getting into that. So, everything that's dark and hidden. So, I'm just going to put death, re death transformation, rebirth, and shadow self. Okay. And now we're going to get into the interpretation. I told you there was a lot to write with this one. So I'm just going to write interpretation up here. Okay, so with the interpretation of the death card, death is not about literal death, but about profound change, endings, and rebirth. It indicates the need for transformation, letting go of old patterns, relationships, or situations that just no longer serve you. And this card suggests that something in your life must come to an end in order to make space for a new beginning. It's a powerful reminder that death is a necessary part of growth and evolution. Okay, I'm gonna just write some of that out now. So I gotta move my mic. Okay, so um, it's about change, endings, rebirth. Okay, need for transformation, letting go. And letting go can be anything. It can be about letting go of people, letting go of situations, letting go of habits, letting go of thought patterns. So it can be so many things, right? So letting go of the old is what I'm going to say, the old, to make space for new. Okay. And also a reminder that death is a necessary part of growth and evolution. Death is necessary for growth and evolution. Okay. And then when we're looking at a career, so if you were doing a career reading and the death card shows up, then that indicates that there could be an end to a job or a career direction. And it could be the end of a role within a company or transfer to a new department. So that's going to play out different ways. Or it could even be like a change in your responsibilities at work as well. In a relationship reading, when you see the death card appear, this indicates the end or the end of a stage in a relationship. So here's an example is where if a couple has a baby, right? That signifies the end of a stage in a relationship and the transformation into a new stage, which really is parenthood for the couple. And then when we're looking at health, in a health reading, death indicates an ending or changing your current health status or issues. So it can also represent issues with the bladder, the bowels, lower back, the prostate in men, and the ovaries in women. So that's what you get when you see it in a health reading. So now we're going to look at the reversed. I'm going to write reversed right up here. I've kind of run out of space, but I'll write it down in here. Reversed. So when death card shows up reversed in a reading, this indicates that you desperately are trying to hold on to something that has already changed or is changing in the process of changing, and that you need to have faith that new opportunities will present themselves, even if you aren't willing to let go. So you need to be willing to let go and leave something behind and just have faith that something new will come in and take its place. And that's what you get. And now, if you're looking at a career reading or health reading or relationship reading, then that meaning is going to apply to that subject matter. Okay. So reversed, we see that it's desperately trying to hold on to something that is slash must change. Okay. And also, it's about having faith, right? Having faith that something new will replace the old slash what is lost. Meaning lost not as in, you lost your keys, you lost your wallet, but lost as in it's gone, it's changed, it's transformed. Okay, and there we go. So I'm just going to make sure that you can see it all, and that is our death card. Thank you for joining me today on your path of learning. Join me next week when we dive into temperance. If you found today's video informative, fun, or both, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And be sure to check out my free monthly and weekly tarot readings.